And we are live. Welcome to Patriot James Talk Show with Mr. Lyle Stokes tonight. I say
Hey,
God
everybody.
bless everybody. God bless you and your families. And we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And sometimes them catfish can make us happy. And sometimes we get a little sad when we have them bad days, don't we, Mr. Lyle?
That is a fact, my man. That is a fact. Sometimes you have a good day, and sometimes you don't have a good day. And but first off, James, let's just say that this tournament that Chad and Dee put on was a lot of fun, and they done a really good job putting it together. And it's not their fault. My boat set for 2.5 years, and I thought I had everything fixed on it and didn't. We was running 2.5-year-old gas, and I am a firm believer in stay bill because I put that in there when I parked it, and that thing never skipped, never missed a beat, never misfired, never done nothing. It would crank over 2 or 3 times, and vroom, it was ready to go. But the things that we bought new trolling motor batteries, and what had 20, we ain't out there 15, 20 minutes, and the trolling motor just shut off. Never to kick on again. I mean, there's days like that, but sometimes you're just not ready for them. And we had the boat out Wednesday before. Then we had doctor's appointments and all the stuff that goes on with life. And I thought everything was just fine. But, it's one of them deals. But the tournament, I'm very impressed with the way that went off. And you and I can talk about this, and we have a little bit. Maybe we need to expand on a little bit more. But I honestly believe the catfish and other species of fish have been doing online tournaments for some time.
Right.
But this is probably the best format for it I've ever seen.
Yep.
So
yeah, and I'm gonna give a little credit to StreamYards for this because there's not another platform that I know of where we could do something like this.
I agree.
Chad took advantage of it, him and Dee, and I thank you for that. Chad, you need to somehow put a copyright on this tournament because I think it's going to be a big thing. Me and Lyle will be more than welcome to help you try to figure out the logistics of it next year because I got a feeling you're going to have to figure out how to set times for next year because we're going to have so many people want to join into this stuff.
I think so too. And it doesn't have to be a YouTube man and woman type thing. It could be, you could call it anything you want with any denomination of people or boats or whatever you want. James, I think, and you can help me with this a little bit maybe. I think the way it's set up, you could do 10 teams at a time per day.
Right. I think so. The only concern I have is that the screen is going to be so small because a lot of people don't watch it on a computer. A lot of people don't watch it on a tablet. They watch it on their phone.
Right.
So the screen would be so small that it would be tough. That's where it's going to come down. And I mean, we can sit down and talk with Chad and help him figure it out that you might have to break it up into time slots.
Well, here's another thing. Yeah, time slots would be good where you'd have 10 in the morning, 10 in the afternoon. And right. you could do that 2 days a weekend, and you could do, a couple of weekends. You get a lot of numbers. The other thing I was thinking about was multiple people helping him co-host. So, and whenever somebody is talking, which is going to be really hard to figure out because you and I be talking at the same time, or me and Dockery, or whoever it was, but whoever be talking have full screen. And switch them, but somebody that's running it from a home computer can do that so much easier. I didn't even try to do any of that stuff we just turn ours on and leave it on as long as we had signal.
Right.
But yeah, the guy at the home PC, he's the mastermind behind doing all that, so people could see that. And that, and Stan, or not Stan, but Mark helped him out, done a bang up job Sunday. But yeah, I think a couple of guys doing that each day would be a godsend to whoever's trying to figure that out. But I agree, he needs to get a handle on that to where he can claim that as his, because that's a sweet setup.
Right. And I mean, I know that he's going on the amount of fish per trip.
Yep.
And we're having to rely on everybody being live the whole time to be able to see. Now, these guys and gals, don't take this wrong as I say it. I believe that there's not a cheater in the house. There's no money involved, so that takes a lot of that. They take that, it takes all of that out of the equation. If it does grow to the size that I got a feeling this is going to grow to, because I've done heard a lot of people are interested in this.
Yeah, me too.
And it might come down to where time slot, the first hour you got 5 or 6, second hour you got 5 or 6, third hour, and you just might end up having to trust what they say and have it, or say have 5 people. If you catch a fish, say a big fish, we got an award for a big fish, then they come back in and you bring them back on the screen to show that fish. But I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's got to be worked out because I got a feeling his phone's getting ready to be blowed up.
Oh, I bet it has been.
Yeah, I bet it has.
I bet it has been. And I see that my old buddy James Dockery's already in here making comments.
Oh, yeah. He said the show went downhill real quick right off the get-go.
Yeah.
That's all right a few days, Bob.
I would normally have something smart to say about this, but I'm going to try to be on my best behavior with you tonight. You're always good on Catfish Weekly. I'll try to return the favor. But it is James Dockery. Oh,
we got Catfish Headhunter, JP3, 1 ton, 1 overs in here tonight. LG Bass, Jason Lamb. I hope I said that right. Creole, Kentucky Catman, and Outdoor Adventures. Who else we got in here? Team Sling and Lead. Who else? We got all kind of people. There's Chad's in the house. There's Ray. S. Smith.
D. Mike Turner.
There's D in here. Nebraska Wildcats. Guys, if we missed the name, we're sorry. I see there's Skip Stewart in the house. He was on the boat with Mr. Chris Souders yesterday, live. That was a pretty good show. Had a nice young man on there. I got to go check out his channel. Jeff Baker, guys, we got all kind of Ozark guys, Justin Fish and Fetish. We got all kind of good people in here. Mr. Big Nasty's in the house. I'm here, but I'm wiring the boat. All right, Jim. You seen his boat, boy? He's got lights. He's got all kind of stuff set up.
He does. James, there's one thing that I find very intriguing about this tournament that we had, and something that I think that most people overlooked, and I didn't, but it didn't work out, is the fact that your fish doesn't count if it's not being filmed while you're catching it, right? Or the whole thing. And here's the deal: that changes the concept of where you fish, because where we planned on fishing, we didn't get to even go on the lake we had planned on fishing, simply because we didn't have time to go up there and pre-fish with everything else that was going on,
right?
And find the fish or see if they was there. I know there's tons of fish in that area, but we just didn't have a good chance to go. So what we had to do was rely on last year's remembrance of where we had phone signal to be live. And that happens to be where we tested the boat out. And because on the Lake of the Ozark in that area, if we'd have went up there that Wednesday and something had happened and we couldn't get back to boat ramp, a couple of phone calls and I could have had somebody come and got me.
Right.
If we'd have went to the other place, we'd never been there, but long time. It's up by Warsaw, and I could have called my buddy John to come and get me if he wasn't busy, or there's a lot of variables. So when you got to rely on a phone signal and just in case of this or just in case of that, if we hadn't sold that Alumacraft, it'd have been a different situation because I wouldn't have worried about it. I mean, it was a new boat. It would have went on. But after setting 2.5 years, the phone signal thing is something that's always in the back of your mind, because I will not forget K&B. They caught a fish that didn't get videoed and didn't get to count one fish that they caught.
Right.
So
that is and Wiley, most of Wiley, we do have a decent signal, but they are spots in that lake that you can see the cell phone tower and it's dead. It's dead. Yeah. You dang near can't make a phone call with there. and can see a freaking cell phone tower.
Yeah. Ozark guys U.S. Cellular, but we've had AT&T so long now, it's kind of like tearing cigarettes. I'd rather fight than switch. I mean, we've had AT&T since we come out with cell phones, and we're probably not going to ever give them up. But they got, for the most part, they got pretty good service. There's just some spots on the lakes that there is no way you can get it piped in there. You just can't do it.
Right, and I noticed that if you get real close to one of them cell phone towers and you're on the water, you can hang it up. You have no signal at all. So, especially like down there the South Fork, if you're driving down the road, Lyle, and cross over that bridge, as soon as you hit the bridge, you'll drop a call. As soon as you cross that bridge, you drop a call.
One of the things that helped us was the area we was in. We wasn't outside of the city of Camdenton, which is just up the road from the Lake of the Ozark city itself. And there should have been plenty of towers around there, but still we've gotten trouble on there a couple of times because my oldest son lives out D Highway off of there. Now he's way out there, but you get up and down them hills, they call them Ozark Mountains. Well, they're not. If you've ever been to the mountains, these are not, but they're enough of a nuisance that stops phone signal. And, it is what it is. But there's a lot of variables about that. And when you're in one of these tournaments, you've got to plan ahead for that stuff. And even though all of us knew all this stuff, it was new enough that some of us thought ahead on some of these things and some of us didn't. And I would bet that Kevin doesn't fish that area with Amy Jo next time when she's catching a fish and don't get to count it. She'll beat him over the head with that fishing pole.
Yeah. And you're right. For tournaments like this, the one that I do, that you rely on live feeds, then it does make a difference. It really does, because if they, like you said, can caught a fish that couldn't even count because they lost signal. So, I mean, that's a lot of stuff that's got to be worked out, is how they going to do it.
Now, here's a thought.
We all on the same lake at the same time.
If James Dockery hadn't had phone signal when he caught that little bullhead, he wouldn't have got to count a fish at all.
Yeah.
So, he's pretty lucky.
And actually, when you're bank fishing like that, you got to be pretty picky as where you go to bank fish. Your prime spot might not have that signal.
That's right.
So and I seen that somebody said that they got on one of those battery packs. Guys, those battery packs, Doc talked about it a while back on Catfish Weekly, those little small lithium-ion battery packs. And I got one, and it lasted the whole day with my phone running live. And trust me, guys, when you run live for 6 or 7 hours on a cell phone, that battery's hot. It's pulling a lot of juice, and the first charge, usually the first charge off of that battery pack is going to be your shortest charge, and it will gain from there.
Dockery, him and that flathead, that bullhead he calls a flathead. You know, we have one of those things. We actually used both of our phones. Both our phones, Cindy's and mine, both are Androids. Hers is a little newer than mine, and it's Samsung JS10, something like that. Mine's a 7. I don't know that one of them has a better signal or acquires signal better than the other, but mine's just old enough now that when you're using that battery like that, it goes dead. Now, we have a jump box, a big jump box, and it's got 2 ports on it where you can charge that phone system through that jump box, and you can jump your boat if the battery goes dead, or if somebody else's does, you don't have to worry about carrying cords, jump cords, cables. Right. You just hand them the jump box, they jump her off, they hand it back, and it's a done deal. The problem with that is don't do you a whole lot of good. If Cindy says make sure that's plugged up, you don't check it. So she had one of those little things like you was talking about, and that did save the day for that. But I didn't charge that jump box up. We hadn't used it. I didn't figure it was down. Not real intelligent move on my part, because my phone actually drug it down.
Right. Oh yeah, well I'm talking about the lithium-ion jump pack that Doc was talking about.
Yeah. Now the one I got, it's a big one. I don't know. It's sitting over on a charger now, but it's a 1200 amp with a 2000 boost.
Right.
So I mean, it'll jump. And it's got outlets for 2 USB ports where you can plug phones into them, charge them up. But like I say, it's got to be charged up to do you any good. So.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, I've got that's an 8, and which is a good phone, but it's the second one because I ground the first one up with a bush hog, and it fell out of my pocket, and as soon as I seen something black go across the field out behind my eyes, I knew what it was. But they sent me this, and because I had that insurance. Well, with the insurance, they don't send you a new phone; they send you a reconditioned phone. And this battery has never been right. It does not hold the charge that my other one did. But it is what it is, At least I didn't have to pay another $1,000 for a freaking phone.
Well, and that's the part that just chaps my behind to no end, is the fact that every once in a while they'll send you a deal that says, well, you need to upgrade your phone, and this such and such model is free, but it don't do what you want it to do, or it's not what you're looking for. And you go in there and the one you want is $700, $800, $900, $1,000. And I got to tell you, I ain't doing it. I'm not paying that kind of money for a phone.
I had an iPhone 6. In fact, I use that iPhone 6. I got to get a battery put in it. But I use it as my other camera instead of my GoPro. But that crazy thing, it would go dead within an hour. The battery would. All right. I went and got this new phone. I kept my other one because I want to use it as a camera.
Yeah.
When I changed and they put the service onto this phone off of that other phone, that battery don't go dead with 2 days now.
No kidding.
Yeah. So you tell me.
That's crazy.
You tell me.
Here's
that battery go dead to make me buy another damn phone. Excuse my language, people.
Yeah. Here's a cool comment from Stephen Corley. James and Lyle, Dockery, 2 of my favorite YouTubers.
There you go.
We got to drag Dockery around in here somehow.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. We appreciate it, and I know James does too. He's a super nice guy. We give him a lot of crap, but I call James every once in a while. He calls me every once in a while, especially if we have something going on. And he knows that I'd always be here for him. But yeah, if I get a chance to lay it on him, believe you me, I'm going to, and I fully expect that in return.
Yeah, he's one of them people. I believe me being 1,000 miles away from him, I can pick up the phone and say, James, I need you here at my house.
Yeah.
He'd get on a plane, he'd be here, or he'd drive his tail here. And I appreciate people like that. I do.
Yeah, he's
Right,
guys,
see this right here? That's the biggest arch that I've ever marked in my life. This is in 10 foot of water. I marked that about 2.5 years ago.
That's a giant, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, I stopped, dropped anchor, put baits all around him, live and cut, never would take nothing. But that being said, in 10 foot of water, he would come under the screen and then he would disappear from the screen, be gone for 10 minutes, Lyle.
Wow.
5 minutes sometimes, and then 10 minutes, and then he'd come back through again. And it drove me crazy because I had fresh bait. I mean, I had 4 different kinds. I had largemouth bass, crappie, brim, and something else. Anyway, I had just fresh freaking bait, just caught bait. Son, that drove me crazy.
Oh man,
would you have done anything different, Lyle, to try to get him to commit? If it was a catfish or a fish that eats bait like that?
Probably not. I mean, one of the things that I'm big on when I see a mark like that, especially if we're pulling baits, I will spot lock and I'll aggravate it till it either goes or it leaves.
And
but I've never had one keep coming back like you was talking about.
He swam back and forth. He'd come in the screen and then he'd just disappear again. He'd come through the screen and then he'd disappear again. Wow. It drove me freaking nuts. And then finally he didn't come back. And I just pulled anchor and went and fished.
Usually, you know, you hear people talk about bouncing bait off of their heads. And I believe that that's happened to me. And the reason I say that is sometimes you can put a bait down there and spot lock on them. Of course, it's going to move, jungle and jive a little bit. And pretty soon they'll either bite it or they'll take off. And other times you'll put it down there and you can watch it on your screen and it'll just go right beside it. But I think sometimes it must hit them or something because they'll take off right then and they don't ever come back.
Right.
But I think if you irritate them enough, they'll either bite it or they'll swim away. And I wonder, and I'm going to try this probably this spring when it comes around with live bait. When we mark them like that, stick that live bait down there and just hover over top of them or beside them and see if live bait will make more of a difference than cut bait will.
I wished I would have had me a tub of night crawlers that day. Then I would have put one big wad of night crawlers on there and dropped it down just to see, because if that is the lake of the world record buffalo carp, Lake Wiley. If that had been a buffalo, he would have sucked down a mouthful of night crawlers.
Yep.
They will eat shad too, guys and gals.
Oh, yeah.
Carp will eat shad. I've caught them on little curly tails and stuff like that, just common carp, not a buffalo. But and I've had that one buffalo I caught up on Moss Lake. He was actually had a mouth. You could see the little tiny tread fins in his mouth. That's what he was feeding on.
Yeah.
That's a good question about tread fin. I know you mentioned something the other day that you caught some, but you didn't use them. Do you think that there's a time to use the tread fin instead of the big gizzards?
Usually when we get threadfin shad around here, it's the same time we got tons of them little bitty ones, gizzards. And so I'll take whatever I can get. But when I'm into the big gizzards, I don't have threadfin around. I don't know if they run them off or if they're just not available at that time or what's going on. But when I get into big, and we got one the other day, James, it was way bigger than my hand. And that was the bait we went after. But my gosh, I throwed till I thought my shoulder was going to fall completely off. And I was only throwing a 5-foot net. And the bait was in there. But you just, they was outrunning that net. What I needed to do is throw that 7 or 8 foot one. I just couldn't do it.
that heavy. It's got a real heavy net.
Yeah, got extra weights on them.
So to fall faster. The reason I'm saying that is there's times that I see and I watch these videos that guys downside. Dieter's the one of the ones that I see do it most, downsizing his baits to little small baits. And I got to thinking back and looking back through my pictures at timestamps and stuff that is the time, because I take a lot of pictures on my screen just like this when I mark tons of bait or something like that. And it seems like the times that he is downsizing and going to smaller baits is the times that the tread fin are so thick in that lake. I mean, there's literally tons and tons and tons of thread fin, or whatever you want to call them, in that lake. And I've seen them come underneath me, Lyle B, look like 7 foot thick, come underneath your boat for over an hour.
Yeah.
It's thick. That's why I asked, do you think that would that be the time to go to that smaller tread fin?
Yeah.
Because, and I also noticed that sometimes when they like that, them catfishes got mud on their bellies. Now, they're not covered up like they're laying in the mud for wintertime, but they've got some mud on them. And I just wonder if they just laying there like a big old whale just waiting on that pile to come by and just feed.
Well, I don't know how your lake is, but when the weather gets cold here at the Lake of the Ozarks, the shad pretty much leave the main lake and they go up into coves. And when you pull up in them coves, your screen will turn red. And that's how many shad is in that bundle. Then you'll run out of them and you'll run into another one. And it'll be like that almost all winter up until about last of February, 1st of March. And all you got to do is just when the first glob of them starts coming, especially for me, because I usually throw the net off the front of the boat, the transducer's on the back. So when I see the first big wad of them, I throw off the front, and usually you hit it pretty much on. And sometimes it's unbelievable the numbers of them you can pull up. But basically in the wintertime, though, we don't need like we do in the summer. We just need a dozen or two of the real good ones, and that's all the bait we'll need for that day, or maybe even more than one day.
Right. No, I mean, I've used tread fin and actually done pretty freaking good on them.
Do you have to use more than one on a hook?
Say what?
Do you have to use more than one on a hook? Are they that small there?
Oh yeah. I mean, they're usually about 3 inches. And I'll pile a hook slam full of them.
That's the way they are here.
Hold up a second. I got to do something. I seen a comment. Sorry, Lyle, that I want to take care of.
No problem.
Sorry, guys. This is not the place for what was just happening.
I didn't.
And this person knows better. Maybe somebody done took it off. I'm not seeing it right now. Okay. Or I'm on my phone. For some reason, my computer will not allow me to take care of it. Right there it is. I'm not seeing it on my phone.
Setting hooks and crossing eyes channel hit live bluegills in March. By January, half a minnow. That's very true. And one of the deals with that is, like James was saying, about downsizing baits. And I've watched Dieter do it in a lot of his videos. And but I'm not sure Dieter uses bait like that anymore. All I see him use is chicken. He's crazy on that.
Yeah, it's he catches that chicken. I'm not going to say I'll never put chicken back on my boat, but I just I don't know. I'll use it when I cannot get any other type of bait, simply because I cannot get any other type of bait.
Yeah,
but I'm like what you said. I do not have confidence in it.
No.
But I mean, that's the reason I was asking about the tread fin, because a lot of times you can throw that net and you can get some some tread fin. If you mark them and you got a pretty fast falling net, you can get some kind of bait like that.
Well, those 2 and 3, 4-inch ones, they got to be pretty good size on my 7 and 8 foot nets because of the 5/8 net. Them little guys, they just go right on through it, and you're not going to have any of them. But when the old shoulder gets to bother you and throwing that 5 foot, it's got 3/8 mesh, and it gets everything.
Yeah, it gets everything, and that's what I throw for like the tread fin and stuff like that. I got a 5/8 that I throw to try to find gizzards. Somebody asked about gizzards a little while ago on Lake Wiley. Oh, water's long and care. Good luck with that guy. I haven't been on Wiley in a while. There's some other guys in here that fish Wiley a lot more than I have here lately, and you can ask them, but Wiley's funny lake, man. When it comes to bait, there's so much cotton picking perch in that lake now. And there's, the catfish is really the only thing that helps keep them under control. If Wiley had more striper in it, I believe that they could keep control of them a little bit better.
Yeah. Creole says he's a little partial to chicken now. I'm thinking he probably is.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too. And like I said, I'm not going to rule it out, guys. I will give it another try. But I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out. The reason I'm saying it is Matthew Anthony's talking about he's catching them perch right now. And I know for a couple of weeks they was having trouble getting them to hit. They could find tons of them, but they were spitting up brand new little old shad, tread fin shad, the little small ones.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets coming back to match the hatch, throwing the right size bait to catch that fish. Now, I never would have thought perch would have been that picky because they like a bunch of little freaking piranhas. They'll eat themselves. But I knew the white bass was like that. And it makes me wonder if catfish can get that way when it comes to what they're feeding on. The reason that smaller baits will actually produce more than the others. With that being said, when you go out, Lyle, if you don't have nobody on the boat, are you strictly head hunting? Did you hear me?
What was that?
I said, when you go out by yourself, or you and Cindy, do you go out looking for numbers, or are you strictly head hunting?
James, that depends on where we're going. If we go up to the Lake of the Ozarks and where we was at the Camdenton access, there's not a lot of big fish up there. Usually if I go up there, I'm looking for numbers and eating size fish. Now, if we go to the little end down by Warsaw where the water comes out of the Truman Dam into Lake Ozarks, bigger fish down there. And we'll go down there and we'll actually look for bigger fish, 30, 40s. There's some 60s and there's some bigger fish in there. But to be realistic, 40s, 50s, 60s are pretty good fish for Lake Ozark because our growing season is so small, short. And that's where we go to find the bigger fish. And now Truman, I dearly love to fish Truman. It's a little bit further for us to go to, but Truman has bigger fish in it, I believe. And I'm a lot more familiar with the river system in that because I duck hunted it and not only fished it, but I duck hunted it for years. So I know when there's going to be stuff we can find bait up there almost all the time. But, if we just run up here to the lake, it's a lot quicker for us to run up here to Lake Ozark than it is to go to some of the places at Truman. But right now, duck season's getting ready to open up. Probably wouldn't be you can still fish Truman, but you got to be really careful not go way up into the rivers because them guys they got leases and stuff on the cornfields and things, and they're gonna be in their duck hunting and deer.
Oh yeah. So yes, best to be safe when it comes to stuff like that because it is that season. Yeah,
and we done it for years. I mean, we had a lease lake that we leased, an irrigation lake that we duck hunted and goose hunted off of for years and years and years. I had a boat set up for with a blind on it, 3 heaters in it, and a spot for a dog on each end of it. And the reason that I done that was because I got to go up there, owning my own business. I would hunt 5 days a week through the week, and then on the weekends, the other guys in the lease, they had to work, so I would let them have it for the weekends, and I'd take the boat and we go out on the river and do it. But they've leased all the private land around on the out parts of the river system now. You just, it's really hard to find a place, and I can't hold the end of a gun up no more, so I don't do it. But yeah, I do miss that. But right now is some of the best times for the next 2 or 3 months you ain't believing this, the best time of the year to fish. She's sitting over here. She's got strawberry cheesecake standing in the doorway, eating it in front of me.
Wife went and got us spaghetti and daggum lasagna from this place up here in Bessemer City, Lyle. And that's what we got for our dessert, is a strawberry cheesecake, and it's about that thick.
Oh,
I've
man.
never seen a cheesecake that thick.
That's huge.
Yeah, and he's hey, it's good. You can't take a couple bites. That son gun's so rich, you can't take a couple bites, boy. It'll make your ears turn red. It's so sugary.
But anybody that would stand in the doorway of my shop and eat it in front of me, holy crap, man. That's Lord. I told you she's a mean woman.
Well, the reason I was asking that, Lyle, is that we have a lot of new people coming into the sport. And when I go out by myself, that's all I'm doing. I'm like you. I'll do a lot of riding, a lot of looking. I'm throwing big baits, and I know I've accepted before I ever left the dock that I'm probably going to come home with a skunk. I've accepted that. So if I go out, throw baits all day long, pull anchors, whatever, all day long, and come home without a bite, I'm okay with that. Because I know what I'm after. That's like chasing that trophy buck. You marked him. You know his routes. You just got to be there when he comes. You just got to intercept him when that time happens. Yeah. But with that being said, getting into it, do you think that it is wise to learn the steps of the life cycle of the catfish?
I do.
I do too.
I think it's extremely important. And say I was going to go up on Truman, I hadn't been up there in years and years and years. I would prefer to take one day with no fishing rods or anything and just go up there and find fish that I want to fish. And then the next time I go back, take all my stuff, have a plan laid out of where and how I want to attack that area.
Right. And hopefully they're still there.
Yeah.
And if they are still there, guys, that's where that journal comes in. That's where that journal comes in. So when Lyle goes back, he marks that spot and he sees that fish is still there. He's setting up a pattern.
That's right.
There's a pattern being set up. There's something telling him that these fish are holding on this type of structure at this depth. Catfish Mafia, how do you guys change your tactics when the fish start going deep? Shallow water has been on fire at Bugs Island. Now struggling to find them in deep water. I'll let you answer that.
Well, for me, blue catfish don't take off and just run way away. Usually they'll go into deeper water around the surrounding area. Say if you've been catching them on a shallow flat and it has some deep water near it, usually they'll be in that deep water. But eventually blues travel so much that if they're not there in a few days, you got to go hunt them down again because they're liable to move from one end of the lake to the other. And here's a prime example. We was fishing the Mississippi River one year, and we watched these fish between two dams. And you'd go up there one afternoon and you'd find them below the northern dam. You go up early the next mornings. Maybe you was in a tournament, or maybe you was just looking to see if you could go chase them down again, and they wouldn't be there. But the same numbers, or what seemed to be the same numbers, would be in the front of the lower dam. You know, it might be 10, 12 miles down, and they'd be in front of that dam. You go over there that night, they'd be gone. But you'd make a run right quick up to the northern dam, and there'd be a bunch of fish up there that wasn't. And my contention is, and I discussed this with 2 or 3 other guys, those fish will move down between those 2 dams depending on if bait and water was being released at one, or whether they was going down there to rest in front of the other. And the reason we said that was because in front of one was a grain elevator where they load barges, and in front of the other one was a mill where they ground it up. And so that's how that worked. And we watched that severely. And now these wasn't giant fish, although we did catch some in the 30s, 40s, 50s. But most of them was small fish. And my contention always was that big fish traveled together and little fish traveled together. That's not necessarily true, because there would be great numbers of fish in front of that lower dam in the evenings or in the mornings. And then at night, there wouldn't be no fish around there to mount anything. And you'd make a run. It was 11 miles between the 2 dams, and they'd be up there. Or you'd find them before you got there. And we was thinking they was going to that other dam. And I believe they just, it doesn't take very long. If you're in 6 or 7 mile an hour current and a fish is swimming at all, he can make an 11-mile trip in an hour or 2.
Yep. Without no effort going with the flow of water.
That's right.
Now you got to work his tail off when he gets going back up the stream. But
that's right. But now you think about that in your lake. If there's water coming in the upper end of it or the lower end of it, and you find them up there one day and they're not there the next day, and they're not very, within, let's say, half mile of that area, they went somewhere.
They took a long run.
Yeah.
Because I'm like you. If you get a cold snap that comes in and they pull out of the shallows, they don't pull usually too far.
Not normally.
But if you look out around, like you said, less than a half a mile around, and you're not marking those fish anymore, they probably took a hard run, ain't they?
Yep, that's what I always do. And we take off and we'll look for them, especially if we're not pre-fishing tournaments and stuff, and we know they was there the day before or maybe 2 days before. I want to know where they went, just to satisfy my own mind. And people say, well, you don't know if they're the same fish. You don't. But if you've seen a great number or a small number, you have another idea when you find them if that's about the same number of fish in a different area. You'll have a fairly good idea, and it may not be anything to do with those.
Right.
But chances are, if you find them the same, it probably got something to do with it.
He said he didn't realize that blues really traveled that much. Tell him how far they'll travel, Lyle.
Well, the Missouri Conservation Department tags fish every year, and several years ago, they tagged one, if you're familiar with the Missouri River, between Chillicothe, which is mid part of Missouri, on the Missouri River, and Kansas City. They tagged it in that area. 3 years later, it was caught below Memphis, Tennessee. It was caught by rod and reel, and the people turned that in. Now, it doesn't surprise me that fish went all the way to the Mississippi River and then all the way down below Memphis. No telling how much further than that it went. My question is, did it do that one time, or did it do it more than one time?
Right.
Because blues travel, and a lot of the ones have specific wintering holes where they go to every winter. Some of them are on the lower end of the Missouri River. Some of them are way down south on the Mississippi. It just depends on the fish. And from the studies that I've read, they don't always go to the same wintering holes, but lot of them do use the same wintering holes, and that's why it's so devastating when these commercial guys go out there and they'll find one and they'll take 5,000 pounds out of a wintering hole, and they'll do that day after day after day until they either get stopped, get caught doing something wrong, or they just harvest them all, and that's what's bad.
Yeah, see, that's where they need to go out there and make their boat a daggum artificial wreath on the bottom of the lake.
Well, there's just until these states get together to work to make these regulations better. Missouri has worked really hard, and they got good regulations on Lake of the Ozarks, Truman, the Osage River, and all tributaries. They've done a good job on that. But regulations on the Missouri and the Mississippi, there is, all they done was make a bunch of people mad, because the Missouri and the Mississippi, they stopped commercial fishing on the Missouri years ago. You rarely used to see 80s and 90-pound fish. You'd see some, but not too many up in the Kansas City and the mid part of the state. Now it's common practice because there is no commercial fishing on the Missouri, but they need to do the same thing on the Mississippi.
Right. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Lyle. I know that there's a time and place, because we are humans and we are a very fast growing country. People like to eat catfish. They do. I love eating catfish. I love catching them, but I love eating them. Now, I like the little bitty ones about no longer than 10 inches long. Fry them all on the bone and then peel the meat off the bone. I could eat my weight in them things. But with that being said, a lot of people don't want to mess with that, so they want a little bit bigger fish so they get a nice fillet.
Yep.
I think that there's a way that it could be managed to where these guys can still make money. They can still harvest fish, but still keep the breeding fish in our waters.
Yep.
I really do. I believe that there's a way around it. Right now, I think guys write letters to your commissioners, write letters to the wildlife, get involved. Contact Lyle, contact Dieter. Dieter helped around here a lot with North Carolina, Jeff Manning. They can put you in touch with the right people to send the letters. I don't think, Lyle, and I'll ask your opinion, I don't think the flathead catfish will ever get protected.
No, I don't either, especially out in your area where they claim that they're invasive species out there in your area. They're never going to protect them.
The best thing to do is don't even say nothing about it. Out of sight, out of mind, and let these son of a guns grow to however big we want them to grow, and just don't say nothing about it. And hopefully, they'll survive. That fish has been around a long time, Lyle.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's saying that the blue is the biggest catfish. I still believe that the flathead is the biggest catfish. It just hasn't been caught yet.
Well, I agree. And there's one really close to 100 pounds was caught in Missouri a few years ago. It was caught on a trot line. But still, the fish grew that size. And I think there was 90, I want to say 92. Now, I may be off a few pounds on one. It was caught on rod and reel. And the guy, he didn't care about records.
Right.
He didn't care about eating it either. He throwed her back. He didn't want the fish to die, and he didn't want anybody to know where that fish was caught, because sure as the world that people would have given him a few days and they'd have probably went and. Flatheads don't travel like blues do. A flathead about a mile is what they claim is average overall for a flathead to go this way or that way. Now, I know channel cats, they do some runs too, but blues are known for their distance that they travel. But flatheads do not. They're very territorial, and they stay where they're grazed. Now, eventually, I guess if little ones half-growed to 15-pounders get beat up enough by them giants, I guess they'll run off and get out of the way. But as a general rule, they don't travel near like the blues and the channels do, and the channels don't travel like the blues do.
What I'm thinking is that I think the juveniles actually do some traveling law simply because, and it might be just because it's on a lake and not on a river. Because here a couple of weeks ago, Matthew was on the flatheads hot and heavy. He was catching more flatheads than he was blues, dragging baits, and not really marking structure. So that took me. I contributed to like a daggum whole flock of Jake turkeys. Them Jakes are run in packs, but a Tom will run by himself.
That's right.
So I think that they do travel at a certain age, but when I go out by myself and I'm not looking for numbers and I'm not looking to put some on the ice, I'm looking for that one longer. And I accept that I'm not gonna. Oh, see there.
Hey, right.
We got 9 minutes left, and I can go dig into the one I got at the house. So you better hush. Mine's about that thick. Oh Lord, Cindy. I'll tell you what, guys. My buddy Wampus Cat's in here. And I've been wanting a good daggum recipe for some homemade just cornbread. Cornbread with pintos and all. I made a big old stew pot of deer stew the other day. And Justin sent me a recipe. And instead of using oil, Lyle, they use a pint of Duke's mayonnaise.
Oh, wow.
That is the best freaking cornbread I ever eat in my daggum life, and I've probably eaten enough to fill half this building up of cornbread. That some gun was moist. Oh my God. I could eat that whole cake of cornbread in one set.
Wow.
You know, you got to cook it in a cast iron frying pan. That's just the way it is, guys.
Yeah, I always like that kind of stuff. But Cindy makes some homemade stuff and always has that just pretty much melt your mouth. And cheesecake's one of them. Cinnamon rolls is another one. But this is the first thing she's fixed like that in some time because, you know, they tell me I need to lose weight. She's always dieted, but I don't, I want food. That's just the way it is. And yes, Kevin, it's strawberry jello, something mixed in with regular strawberries in there. Not sure exactly what all goes in it. Don't care. As long as she just keeps making it, it doesn't matter to me. But when we got home from the trip the other day, I know you guys think this is funny, but when we got home from fishing the other day after being out there, I had that thing of chicken in the cooler, and it went from the cooler directly to the trash can. Probably never be seen again.
See, I didn't put the Jello on mine. I had not Jello, but Kool-Aid. That was Dieter sending me a message. He was trying to figure out what used to be on the corner of New Hope down there, and I'm having to think my brain's dead. But when you fix a big old pot of pintos, Lyle, you got to have cornbread.
Oh, you got to, yeah. And what they need to do is usually fix me a pan and then fix a pan for everybody else.
There you go.
I really love cornbread. I really.
I'll have to send Cindy that daggum recipe and let her try and see what you think about it. But you just don't put the oil in it. You put the mayonnaise in it. And it's got to be Duke's, guys. Who was that out there fishing the other day that had Miracle Whip? Oh, you buddy. Damn, I just went brain dead. Oh, my God. He caught the big fish at the tournament.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. He had a sandwich. I said, man, I hope that's Duke mayonnaise you putting on that. And he said, it's Miracle Whip. And I went, oh.
I don't think we have Dukes out here.
Oh, really?
I've never seen it. Now, I've heard you guys talk about it, but there's Miracle Whip, and there's another big popular brand that's out here. But I've never seen Dukes at a store. But of course, then again, I never looked for it. I've never seen it, but I never looked for it. Miracle Whip and something else. What's that other brand? Some of you guys that live here in the mid-U.S., Cindy, she post her up here and tell us what it is. Hellman's, that's it.
Hellman's, yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever eat Duke's, you'll never go back. Yeah, it's a Southern thing.
It must be, because like I say, next time I'm at a store, I don't go grocery shopping very often. And Cindy don't want me going very often, because I'll load a cart up right now with stuff I probably ain't supposed to have. But
because you go hungry.
Pappy,
you got to eat before you go.
Yeah, Pappy says you can catch Dukes on Amazon.
There you go.
Wow.
Order you some. It'll change your life.
Now, Creole said something about Blue Plate. That must be another brand.
Must be.
But yeah, I've not ever seen it. Oh, Cindy says they do have Dukes. Okay.
Okay, well, good. Yeah, I thought it ought to be countrywide. It ain't like Sundrop. Sundrop's the Carolina thing.
Well, I remember when we have a local bottling company in the town that Cindy and I grew up, and they had Sundrop, and they got it from another place that bottled it in Herman, Missouri. And you get away from that area, and there was no Sundrop. And I grew up drinking that stuff. Now, I can't drink. Really? That's why I drink Diet Dew now, because I can't drink the Diet Sundrop. It tastes like ass, to be quite honest.
Question, did your Sundrop have a white lid on it or a green lid? Because some of the Sundrops that was out across the country in different places had a white lid, and they was bottled a different place.
Yeah, I only remember the green ones.
Okay,
but,
okay.
They sponsored stock car, dirt cars, and the
started right here in Gastonia, North Carolina.
Well, they must have bought the franchise for it here, because we used to get it all the time. But once I had to start drinking the diet stuff, I don't like the Diet Sundrop.
Yeah, and Dieter likes it, but I don't like it either.
That's Dieter. He likes chicken.
Well, I know a lot of people that drink it.
I can't do that.
It's just,
I can drink the Diet Dew and get along all right with it, but I can't drink the Diet Sundrop. But I like regular Sundrop. And
just sucker in the freezer to just getting slushy. Oh, Lord have mercy. That's a Carolina thing. But
back in the days when we used to mix a little full flavor with that Sundrop, it was really, really good.
Oh yeah. We'd make our screwdrivers, instead of using orange juice, we'd use daggum Sundrop.
Oh yeah.
That worked good too. But Lyle, I mean, you got anything else you want to tell the people out here tonight?
I tell you what, I just want to thank Chad and Dee for what they done at that tournament. I think they're really onto something. And the next one they have, anybody that watched this one and enjoyed it, I hope it's to where everybody can get involved with it. If it has to go a couple of weeks and divide the day up to where you have a morning and an afternoon deal. If you do something like that, you're going to have to take the draw you get, because you won't be able to be on specific deals like that. The teams will have to be drawn out on certain days and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that it's going to be popular enough, and I told Chad this, that he's probably going to have to pick it, how many ever teams and how many ever players there's going to be, and then everybody else will be on a reserve list. And if something happens like did this time, where some of them had to work and different things,
right,
then the reserve teams would be pulled in, and you could get on like that. But I think he's really on to something. I think it's I've been in a lot of online tournaments over the last 20 years or so, and none of them was even close to what this was. It was absolutely the best. And I know you've seen them too.
Right. Yeah. It was a blast. It was enjoyable, whether I called anything or not. It was, like I said, I owe Chad and Dee the world, because they actually helped get my wife on the boat fishing with me, not just riding around, but actually sitting down. Now, she is sitting down reading a book, but she was out there while I was fishing, and that made my day.
Yeah.
I didn't have to catch nothing. That just made my day. she froze her butt off getting out there too. When normally she said, "Put my butt back in the car where it's warm. I ain't getting out there." But it was enjoyable. She enjoyed it. She said that was nice and relaxing. She enjoyed talking back and forth when Dee was taking over on there, and that was family entertainment.
It was. It
That
really was.
Family entertainment at its best. That anybody, the whole family, that would have been good for the family to sit down, pull it up on the big screen TV, turn off all that other junk, and sit down and just watch some good people have fun and talk junk.
It's about as clean and wonderful as you said. And thank you guys for enjoying the scenery. It was a beautiful spot on the lake we was at until the boat traffic got out. And that's another reason why I didn't want to go there, because I knew it was going to be 80 degrees and them big boats would be out there, and they was. And them guys in them pontoons, I'm pretty sure I could have reached out there, rod full arm's length, and probably touched them clowns in them pontoons and them Sea-Doos. My gosh, they was just them Sea-Doos. Some of them must run 90 miles an hour. My God.
Oh God, some of this goes crazy.
But you know what? Like I say, we knew he's going to have signal there, and usually we can catch some fish. Just that things didn't work out, and that's okay. We had a blast. Can't wait to do the next one. And
okay, well, I meant to ask you that question when we got started all about this. What made you? I know when your trolling motor went out, that kind of restricted you, and plus cell phone signal kind of restricted you to what places you chose to fish. But that first place you chose to fish looked pretty freaking good from what I can see on your picture. Now, I wasn't on the lake, but I would have chose that spot too just by looking at it outside, looking in.
There was fish all up and down that bank. And it was there the Wednesday we was there before. We found them there, and they was just everywhere in there. And there'd be 3 or 4, and then there'd be 5 or 6, and there'd be 3 or 4 more. Then there'd be a big one. And then there'd be some bunch more little ones. And it was all along that riprap bank in there. And just around the end of that is a place we normally can get bait, but they've drained the water out of the lake so low you can't get to where the shad normally is. So that's why we had to make a run and go to the other place. The other place is a spot where there's a rock wall, and it's in a cove, and usually up against that rock wall you get all you want. Well, there wasn't none there. So we found a place that a guy's got a real nice place on his house, and they've got a water deal set up where it runs through their yard, and water drips off of this and out of that and into this, and it runs off through there. And that's where that big shads was where they run over the retaining wall into there. And I've tried throwing there before and never got any, but we did this time. So
yeah, that's why I was asking, because that spot I seen them daggone riprap rocks and stuff along the bank. And guys and gals, don't dismiss that. There's a lot of algae grows on that riprap rock, and them shad love to eat on there, and them catfish. And I'm gonna tell you, guys and gals. Oh, you can't see the green bobbers. I'm sorry. That's what them are. They were float. You looking for a bunch of eater fish? You take a float. There you go. You float. Let's see if you can see this. And can you see it? You can see the reflection of it. But anyway, so you use your float, whether it's one of mine, whether it's one of Chris Flores's, or whether it's just a pencil float, guys. Throw that bait out there and let it float right down them ripraps. You can slaughter them channel cats. Them channel cats love being around that riprap.
Well, we had our blue dog catfishing planer boards ready to go, and that trolling motor that it just put a damper in the whole day, because we had everything figured out how we was going to do it, and then you couldn't do it. So I can't remember the last time we anchor fished. It's been a long time,
right?
But that's what we end up having to do, because there ain't no trolling motor, and it is like I say. You just had a bad day. It's okay. We're not unhappy about it. We had a blast. Glad everybody else caught fish, man. You can't ask for no better. And the show part of it come off slicker than a gut. I mean, it just would.
Well, they ought to be a trophy for you and Cindy, because I'll tell you what,
No.
y'all went at it hard. Y'all did not give up, and really, Lyle, I was really surprised. By the end of the day, you didn't get hammered with a big one, because usually on them days when the world fights you the hardest,
Yeah, that's right.
you will get rewarded if you have the tenacity to fight and get through it. A lot of times, the good Lord will reward you with something.
I agree.
Not all the time, but sometimes you'll even have a flat tire on the way home after you done fought that day all to pieces. But don't give it up, guys. Sometimes you do get a reward. The day I caught my biggest 44, and I know it ain't huge, guys, compared to a lot of y'all, but it's big to me. I had a flat tire on the trailer. I had to jack it up, change the tire in the middle of a turn, Lyle.
Yeah.
And there was a creek down here. If I'd have stepped backwards 2 foot, my butt would have fell off 10 foot into the creek. Trying to change the tire, just waiting on somebody to slam into the back of the boat. It was 97 degrees. The wind wasn't moving. The humidity was 120%. You could about cut it. But then I got rewarded.
Yeah.
Good night of fishing. And just don't give it up, guys. Just keep digging, keep learning. There's a lot of great information out here on the internet. But I think the best thing I can say, Lyle, and you probably can too, is reiterate this, is that it's going to take time on the water.
That's exactly right. And the more time you're on the water, and it doesn't matter if you're on the bank or if you're in a boat or in a kayak, it doesn't matter. If you want to be successful, you put your time in, you'll get that reward James is talking about. And Chad, dude, you guys should know me well enough to know that you couldn't get rid of me. I called our old buddy Creo up the other day when he was having so much of that stuff going through, and I said, I hate to bother you. I know you got your hands full, but you've become part of the catfishing family.
Yep.
And I feel like that I should check on you to make sure you was all right.
Yes, sir.
And he said, yes, we are, and thanked me. Monday night, after our show, James, I got a message from Jeremy, and he says, you didn't look like you felt very good. Are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. He said, well, it works both ways as being part of the family. And I'll tell you, that made my day. You know, it's awesome because we consider everybody in the groups that we deal with in the catfishing community as family. It's not like our kids or our brothers and sisters or stuff like that, but they are our family when we go somewhere. And when somebody like my old buddy James was going through some stuff here a while back, when he's hurting, so am I, you know, and
yes.
I was worried about Jeremy and he was worried about me. And that's what makes what you and I and the rest of these people have makes it so special. And, you know, if people remember that and forget about all that negative stuff, we'll all be a lot happier in the end.
Yeah, Lyle, and it's one of them things, if you take off and just you and your family take off to go on a road trip and something happens, most of the time there's one of our friends from Catfish Weekly, from my show, or from one of these other shows that's probably close enough by you that they'll come help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or they'll make a phone call to a family or a friend that is close enough to you to get you some kind of help.
That's right. And Dockery says he texted me too, and he did, but I'm not going to tell you what he said to me.
Well, there's a guy in here, David Martin, one I had on the show the other week. The other day, last week when I went, I had to go up into another town. I'll just say that I ain't getting into no information, but my phone rung. Wow. And I didn't hear my phone ring, so it went straight to voicemail. Somehow, some way, it went straight to voicemail. Well, I picked it up, and all it said was one word. and I thought it said help. And I thought, oh no, I done hung up the phone and called him right back. He says, James, I didn't call you. I said, well, somebody did with your number, buddy. You called. He was out on the boat fishing. But here I was 3, 4, 7 towns away. Wampus Cat was headed up there. All he butt dialed me. All he had to say, I was getting ready to head that way. Say, no, he said somebody. That's the only word it said was somebody. And the only other word that come behind somebody in my mind was help. Somebody help.
Right.
So, I was ready to load and go to his way because I pretty much know about the area that he fishes. But he picked up the phone and he is laughing, but he is out on the water fishing. But guys, that's part of the family. That's what we call catfishing. That is something that the bass world don't have.
And here's something else, James. Doc is the point of this next thing. When his dog Luke died the other day, Doc called me up. Well, I remembered a few years ago when we had to put Rusty down, I called Doc and talked about it with him. Right. Because Rusty and I had been together since he was this big. He was little bitty when I got him, and I'd had him for 15 years. And he called me and talked to me about that. And then I didn't hear about it from him till the next day or two when Betty and them was down there. And right. Doc dials me up, and I answer the phone and say, hey, what's going on? And click. And I thought, oh, man, I knew they was going to probably do some night fishing. And he called me back. And he said, man, I butt dialed you. And I said, what are you doing that for? He said, I don't know, but I'll try to quit.
Well, I'm sorry to hear. I know he ain't in here tonight. Well, I'm sorry to hear if you talk to him, tell him, I know that was a loss to him because that was his buddy.
It was.
And I guess it's a good thing that all of us down there, to kind of keep his mind occupied with what was going on and all that and having people in there.
And I was 20. Hey, Hagen Grubbs has made it.
What's up, Mr. Hagen Grubbs? I just got through watching your last video a little earlier. Old boy's doing good, ain't he, Lyle?
He does. I remember the first one of Hagen's videos that he come out with, and one of the things that's dear to me is fishing with your kids, fishing with your wife, your girlfriend, somebody like that you enjoy being around. And that was when I first started watching Hagen. It was him and his boys out there fishing. And I subscribed to him, and he probably didn't have no idea who I was and probably didn't care.
Right.
And I started commenting on his videos. And folks, I'm going to tell you something. Hagen comes in, and he's just like that. He spoke to me. Commenting on these videos, whether it's a show that James does or James and I does on Monday night, or whether it's a video that somebody puts out, lets them know that you appreciate what they are doing, so you have entertainment to watch. It only takes a second. You don't have to say much. But right. I've seen a lot of these young guys start out, and Hagen has taken off, and he's going to be a big deal in our industry. He already is. But he has a shot at being somebody really good because he's likable and he does a good job with his stuff, and he works hard at it. And I appreciate watching his stuff and will for a long time. And thank you so much for watching us on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Yeah, and it's a good, wholesome show.
Yes.
That's it, guys. It's, set your goals for YouTube. But don't forget where you come from. And,
that's right.
I would rather, and this is just me personally, a lot of the fancy stuff, the fancy camera angles and all that stuff is great if you know how to do all of that and you're good at it. I'm not good at it. So my videos is going to be like a live feed. I'll tell you that right now. And I'm not going to get those views. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't set my goals to get 100,000 subscribers. I set my goals to be able to stay live and go live with people and enjoy the camaraderie that you don't get nowhere else. And guys, don't let catfishing get to the point that it's like bass fishing, where they know each other's name, but they don't even give a crap if they sit down and have a cup of coffee with each other.
Yeah, we go to places, and we don't go, as of course this COVID has kind of knocked us out, but we would go to the big tournaments and stuff, and I would sit out on the back of tailgates, visit with people about fishing. We'd tie up fishing rigs, we'd tell lies, we'd tell truths till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Cindy'd go to bed until she'd go to the door and she'd say, I don't care how late you stay out here, but don't you wake me up when you come to bed. You be quiet. and I set out Memphis 2 years ago. I set out and talked to Joey Kirby and Stacy Gaston on the back of a pickup thing until Stacy finally give up the ghost. He went to bed, and Joey and I stayed out there and talked with 5 or 6 other people till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And we go to restaurants, and people would come up and shake your hand and say, hey, we watch you on TV, or we watch you on YouTube, or whatever. And then pretty soon it's somebody that I've admired for a long time, and I'll see them and I'll say, excuse me, and I'll go from our table over there and shake their hand, whether it be a Larry Muse or whoever it might be. Of course, I've known most of them guys I've known for a long time. But the one thing that I do, and I get some strange looks sometimes, is we was at Owensboro, Kentucky at the Moonlight Barbecue one night, and there was a bunch of military folks come in and sit down beside us, and I went over and shook every one of their hands, and I was shocked that nobody else did that, and thanked them for everything that they do. And I'll do that to a guy and his wife if he's wearing a uniform walking into a Walmart store. And I get some strange looks sometimes, because then people are like, you don't know that guy. Don't matter.
No.
It don't matter. To me, that's important, and that's the things we do.
Yes, sir. And that's I agree 100%. So let's just keep it real. Put up your flag, guys. I'm challenging you tonight. Show me your flags on my channel, please. On your boat, on your home. We need to help. Y'all help me bring more patriotism back to this country, and I need your help. I can't do it on my own. I know a lot of you already have flags flying, and I thank you, but let's show them. If you don't mind. That being said, Lyle, I've had a blast.
I have too.
Guys, hopefully I can start being a little bit more coordinated and having some shows planned up. I got a few guys that's coming up. I'm letting the other shows have guests. When you see a guest on here, it's probably going to be Lyle or somebody. I'm going to try to do more educational. Lyle, I got me some whiteboards coming so we can do some more sketching and drawing and really get into some deep details.
That'll be on your end, my friend. My drawing ability is like my handwriting.
Well, good gracious. I'll be doing stick figures. You know.
I'm okay with that.
We might have to blow Patty back up and let her point, like Vanna White.
Yeah. That'll work.
That being said, guys and gals, we thank you for your support. We thank you for coming in and watching our shows. Make sure you are here tomorrow night for Mr. Chad and James Dockery. I'm sure they're going to be talking a lot of stuff. I think we all going to be in there tomorrow night off and on sometime, ain't we?
James is going to be talking some smack, but
yeah,
hey, he always does. Great, fun, entertainment. If you want entertainment, Thursday night, that's where it's at.
Yeah, there you go. Guys, no outside the haze. I do outside with the haze. You have to just message me through Messenger. If you don't have Facebook, get a pen and piece of paper. My number is 704-600-8369.
I watched
704-600-8369.
Outside with the Haze had a new video out today, and I did see it a minute ago where Hagen said that he does all of his stuff on a phone. Pretty impressive for the quality of video.
Well, that's an iPhone 10s or something. The one he uses, that's the best camera iPhone's got out right now, and it's unreal. The wife's got one, and the picture quality, it's almost 3D looking. It's amazing.
I guess, and you know what? his boy is quite the camera guy.
Yeah.
He really is. And I think he must enjoy it. Now, I know he enjoys catching them fish.
Yeah.
But hell, who don't?
Hey, I thought the old boy was going to cry when he lost that rod. When that fish jerked that rod out of his hand, I thought, this might have to run to the back of the boat back here to stick away from the camera. But it happens. I mean, then sometimes the fish don't take it. You screw up and throw the cottonfish thing off the boat like I did. So
I bounced a brand new one time off of the I had a bass boat. We was crappie fishing, and my son had done so. Oh, I know. I lost a brand new pair of glasses out of the back of the boat. He thought I was mad at him. Well, when his line got tangled in the prop, big deal. I had a brand new pair of glasses. They fell off my head while I was getting done. He thought I was mad at him. The reason he thought so, we was going to stay and fish, and I went to make a cast, and my hand was so cold it turned loose of the rod, and the rod and reel bounced off the front of the boat and it was in the water. I looked at Tony, and he's just like, "Oh my God, he's going to kill me!" And he says, "How mad are you?" I said, "I'm not mad. We're going to stay and fish." He said, "Well, you don't have no rod no more." I said, "I'll pick up a catfishing rod and I'll crappie fish with that." And he wanted to fish, so we stayed and fished.
There you go. Hey, it ain't used to get mad. They really ain't.
I lost a brand new rod and reel and a pair of glasses that day that I got Thursday the night before. So you just call them up and say, "Hey, I need another pair."
There you go. That's all you can do. Enjoy your day on the water, guys. I honestly believe we only got so many sunsets and sunrises in us.
I agree.
Make the best of it while we have it. With that being said, God bless you. God bless your families. And we'll see y'all tomorrow night in chat with Chad and James. Good night, guys.